And welcome in, boys and girls. This is another episode of the 3 Man Week College Basketball Podcast. We continuing our 2023-24 preview extravaganza, heading out west to the mountains of the West Coast and just the coast of the West Coast. The Mountain West and the West Coast Conference will be the headline of today's episode. Matthew Cox is back, rejuvenated, refreshed, reinvigorated from a lovely, exquisite honeymoon down in Curacao. Your runners-up of the League World Series. We actually saw a couple guys returning when we were leaving. There's like a big line at the customs line. There's like balloons and they got huge applause, the whole thing. I mean, like the thing ended like 2 weeks ago.
In the U.S. for like
I think it was just like had like a they just had like a South Florida. Where was the tournament at? Oh yeah, what is it? Williamsport, whatever.
Williamsport every time.
Williamsport, yeah, okay. Whatever. So I guess they hung out and came back late. But shout out to my boys from Curacao.
Did you like Curacao? How was Curacao?
I did love Curacao. I would highly recommend it for those looking to do a Caribbean trip. No hurricane risk. You're outside that old hurricane belt, Kai, as they say. So we were tracking Lee, but was never a risk to us because we're just too far south, just off the northern tip of South Africa, or South America, not South Africa. That's
South
really
America.
far away.
Show us the hardware. Show us the hardware.
Oh yeah. What's the I didn't throw up who's the LSU? What's her? I should have been doing more of the LSU
Bayou
stuff
Barbie. That's all.
Bayou Barbie.
Angel Reese.
That's her name. Angel Reese. Thank you. Yeah. Haven't really been mimicking that swag yet, but I probably should. How are you guys doing? What I miss?
Nothing. Not much. Just an absolutely perfect American and A10 preview. Everything we said was correct. We'll be spot on. Wow, you didn't listen? That's sad. You're gonna find some great nuggets in there, so I encourage you to go back and check it out.
Check that out, folks. I will check that out. And then also check out the Mark Titus, Matt Cox, Kai McKeon part 2 of the Week podcast. That was cool.
Yeah,
so the old Barstool office, which will be decommissioned, I guess, the next month or so before they move to their fancy, swanky digs out here in the West Loop, Best Loop, where all the cool kids live in Chicago. But that's all we got. Let's just get into it here. This is episode number 320. Wow.
I know.
A lot of episodes, guys. Fun stuff. Shout out to Joe Pitti. Mr. Jay Paskoff, who has been doing this thing since we got started in this business, does the best music in the college basketball intro, outro realm. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, among other platforms where you can leave reviews and ratings, preferably of the 5-star variety. And if you do follow those instructions, Kai McKeon will follow the instructions of our podcast and read those to you back. We'll discuss them on the airwaves and answer questions and inquiries of sorts. Kai, please do so. Now we have one for this episode.
UConn 4X says 5-star recruit. Nothing comes close to the depth of knowledge our favorite trio shells out. Wow, this is like a group review. The only podcast I'll set an alert for. Question: if you could return to any era of realignment, when would it be? Early 2000s, pre-Boston College, Miami Big East, the SWC era. That's a big poll. The mid 90s, when the A10 and Conference USA were on near equal footing with the Big Six leagues. What is your answer? Can I put Matt on the spot first?
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday, so I have a good answer off the top of the dome. The ACC in the early O's,
the Maryland ACC.
Yeah, the Duke. I mean, there's a lot of good teams during that time frame, but like late 90s, but mostly early to mid O's ACC was kind of the hoop I grew up with.
I respect that, Matthew. First of all, I'm excited to see a positive UConn review, Kai, given all the slander that Dan Hurley has received from particularly Mr. Mateo. But yeah, no, I think for me, Pat Taylor just said in the chat, it's the mid 2000s Big East. That 16 team, just demolition. All those Big East tournaments were delightful. Kai, I fondly remember coming home from working at the pizza to go place in my dorm to the 6 OT game. I think I left and the game was starting and I had a 4-hour shift, came back and it was still going on. I was like, wait, is this the same game? What's happening here? So loved that era. That's what I missed the most.
Can I say Big 12 when Mizzou was in it? Because that's when we were in college and I loved the Big 12.
Same time frame as this. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like our 20s awesome. Was formative for us.
Yeah, it was great. I love seeing, KU Mizzou, can't beat that.
Where are you with the Mizzou identity crisis? Have you fully accepted that you're an SEC school now? Do you feel like you're part of the SEC fabric of culture? Or do you still kind of harken back to the Big 12?
I prefer to be in the Big 12, but the money's better in the SEC.
Yeah, that's true.
Football's cooler in the SEC. I'll give him that. But
in hindsight,
I'm a
brilliant
basketball
decision to move to the SEC when you did, because you kind of
it was a good call.
The whole tectonic plate shifting that just occurred. So nice job. I know you were very much involved in that decision. So
I was
very, very well done.
Good job, Kai. Good research.
Personal corner, we're just going to be shamelessly promoting the Almanac until the season starts. So apologies in advance for those who listen loyally and are tired of that. But for those who listen more casually or are new to the show or just haven't purchased it yet, it's the time. You've waited too long. Just go ahead and do that now. We saw the initial rendering last night. Our second annual comprehensive college basketball preview. Every team, 1,300 words with a slew of other national intriguing content of sorts, top 25 mid-major rankings, top
coach
players.
Coach votes very cool for every league.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite part. The stuff that Goodman rounds up behind the scenes with his connections, just stuff you can't really get anywhere else. We couldn't do it on our side. We did previews for years. We can't get that stuff. So thank you, Jeff, for being the overload that you are. But yeah, please buy that. But yeah, we saw the renderings last night. Awesome. It looks great. The interface online, much cleaner than last year.
Yeah,
I'm excited
really
about
nice.
it. As a user of it, I'm actually more excited for this year's than last year's. And I think with the late changes of like waivers being approved after, September 20th or 25th, we can go back and edit it. So you'll have, at some point a more up-to-date copy than anything that's been released.
We're going to have jersey numbers in there. That was a little ad.
Right.
As you watch a game, who's who based on that. I think that's a very beneficial fix as well.
Yeah, so there's only 6 days left to get it for the pre-sale price. Oh, cool. So if you're a frugal individual out there, it's only $15.99 right now. But on the 20th, when it releases, it goes up to $19.99. So if you want to save $5 or 20%, whatever you want to frame it as, buy it now. It's cbbalmanac.com is the website.
And it's on our Twitter, pinned
it is.
At 3MW_CBB. If you could not remember what Kai just said, didn't write that down, just follow us on Twitter, and then that will conveniently route you towards the landing page for the site. Excited for that thing to come live. We are 99.99% complete behind the scenes. Shout out to my guy, Steve Lavin, who got on the horn with me yesterday, talked a little San Diego Torero basketball.
You talked to him?
Texted extensively. Didn't actually get on the horn with him. He was in transit doing some stuff. But
we should talk about Lavin during the WCC.
Lavin's great.
Yep.
Lavin went from my least favorite coach to my favorite coach in the matter of 24 hours.
Matt, I'll just throw out there might be I might be waiting on a call that I'll have to mute myself for a portion of this.
That's right.
A potential Penny Hardaway call from the clouds. We're trying to get in before the horn here. No idea when it will come, if it will come at all. But if it does, that takes priority over you hoodlums.
Yeah, I was hoping we could just stop our podcast and put Penny on speaker, unbeknownst to him, and just sort of like eavesdrop into the conference call with everyone watching live and listeners. But I don't think Penny would appreciate that. So Jim, hoping for your sake, he calls, and me and Kai will carry the freight if such comes to fruition. New website updates. The Almanac is basically our website right now. Kai, I know you were actually making a few.
Yeah, we got a top 40 countdown going on Twitter. Our annual top 40 countdown is live. I'm putting everything on, and Jim as well.
We haven't done that today, by the way.
We're not putting all the links on. Oh shoot, the actual countdown. You're right. Yeah. That might be me actually. Counting down, putting all the teams in one location so you guys can click on the Twitter link and read about our thoughts on each team as we go through the countdown. Today is supposed to be number 9. We will get that up promptly after the show.
We do need updated bios. We saw the Titus bios were a little bit dated. But hey, fun stuff. Anyway, that concludes our intro. Let's round it up.
Let's do it, Matthew. Roots Roundup. Talking news and notes here. A couple key headlines to mention here. West Georgia set to be the newest Division I squad, getting back up to. There might be another one joining, but it's at least 363 next year. They're joining the A-Sun in 2024. Yes, the Wolves. Mm-hmm. A-Sun just lost a couple teams to Conference USA this offseason, Jacksonville State and Liberty. So replenishing their coffers. Kai, a league that has been very much on the upswing of late. Yeah,
I don't know how good West Georgia is, but we'll see if they can carry the mantle that Queens kind of did last season, just early on. Just really good program.
Beautiful. 15 Dartmouth players are forming a union. Interesting. Okay. I'm not entirely sure how this will work. Kai, we're in the midst of the writers strike, the Screen Actors Guild strike, SAG-AFTRA as well. So I guess Dartmouth is standing in solidarity with their union brothers.
Nerds, dorks. Come on.
Oh no, come on. I stand with the unions out there.
Except you're a college student. This is ridiculous. Come on. Forming
except for the screenwriters. We got to get back to
coal mine, man.
Forming a union. They are. Basketball. God, you're a basketball. Jeez.
Ivy's always the first mover. This could be the small little dom. You know that meme, Kai, where it's like the little domino and then suddenly it's the giant one. Hopefully this isn't like the little domino that ends college sports. We'll see.
Give me flashbacks to COVID canceling the season, Jim.
Yeah,
I want to see one of the Ivy Leagues break away and get really heavy in like the realignment stuff. Like, ooh, Dartmouth to ACC ? Or
no, they would never break up the Ancient Eight. You know that.
Cornell to the American East.
No, they wouldn't dare. Last storyline here: the Maui Invitational was TBD on where they were going to play. They're talking about looking into alternative sites because of the fires that raged there and whether it would be beneficial or disrespectful or anything. They have moved to the University of Hawaii in Honolulu. So still out on the islands, going to have that vibe. But Matthew, I believe, is going to be at the old Stan Sheriff Center where we see the Christmas time tournament, Diamond Head Classic. Not quite going to get Maui rims, although I'd love it if they brought the baskets over from the Lahaina Civic Center. Give us a little bit of that. The soft rims that we crave during Feast Week. We can only hope. Wow, Matt's covered them up. I'm not sure I respect that move.
Today I had thoughts like, I love Mississippi Valley State, like the Valley. I rep for it, but I probably should. I mean, the Hawaii has a near and dear place in my heart. I probably could just ride.
You could have 5 up there instead of 4.
If you I guess we have some space here.
Yeah,
behind your head maybe too. Yeah, just like people know it's there. Yeah,
but I'm excited. This is still going to be in Hawaii. Give the teams that are in it still that true sense of flying over the islands, having the tropical holiday. So big fan of this decision out of Kemper Lesnick and the Invitational as a whole. All right, in recruiting news, nothing in 2023. We're finally getting down to it. Nobody is leaving or going at this point, which is good. Class of 2024, however. 4-star small forward Jalen Shelley is headed to Arkansas. He's a big-time athlete, can guard different positions. Guys, does that sound like a Musselman player to you?
Yes.
Sure does to me. Yep, 100%. 4-star shooting guard Jaden Glover is headed to St. John's. Matthew, I believe it was Zach Braziller tweet, or maybe Adam Zagoria, so apologies if I'm miscrediting. But in like the last 15 years, St. John's has gotten 1 player from New Jersey. Now you add in Simeon Wilcher with Glover, and they've gotten 2 since Patino's taken over. The effect is real.
Oh, it's very real. They beat out a couple of other interesting schools. I thought there was one kind of flyer. I was hoping a mid-major of sorts. Was there a mid-major in the running for him too?
I didn't see the final grouping. I did see Trilly tweet out the St. John's GIF. The Rick Pitino pumping.
We need some mid-major momentum for a Cooper Flags decision, which we all want him to go to Maine. Like we need one of the top 75 guy, and then Cooper's like, you know what, that guy did it. I'll do that too, or just come to Duke, Cooper, and help us be great. I'm also okay with that.
Boo. I did see St. John's also announced the games that are going to be at the Garden this year, the Garden, and it is just like every good Big East home game. UConn, Providence, Marquette, Creighton, they're going to be electric. I can't wait for it. A couple people are mad that Seton Hall's not going to be there, but Seton Hall might stink, so I'm okay with that. Last one to mention here, 4-star shooting guard Jared Harris headed to Memphis. Penny Hardaway, call me. I'm available right now. I can do it. I can do it mid-Roots Roundup. I'm ready for it. But he is out there on the recruiting trails. We'll see if he ever gets back to Old Jimmer at the 3-man weave.
Great actor, by the way.
Get him to send us some shoes too. Penny's shoes are dope.
Yeah, hey, that'd be great, Kai. Yeah, great commercial actor, as Matt is alluding to, especially his little doll recreation too. Little Penny.
Oh yeah.
Nothing in transfer news. Other random news and notes. I just saw this on Reddit before we got on, and I wanted to point it out. This is the first time ever in Creighton basketball history that season tickets have fully sold out. Now, this is almost 16,000 seats. It's a gigantic arena, so it's part of it. I'm just surprised this didn't happen last year. I felt like the hype was even more feverish last year. This shocked me in that regard. But I am glad, Matt, that they still have the momentum with Nembhard and Kaluma leaving, that there's still that energy around Creighton this year. And I know you, like me, are very high on the Blue Jays.
Super high.
So good to see.
I thought, I was shocked to see someone else is in on Creighton with some of the guys they lost, but I like who they brought in. I'm just maybe a Stephen Ashworth apologist. Good team. Good team.
excited.
And
to
of course,
see
as Kai mentioned on
continue.
Titus's podcast, they have the left-handed Larry Bird and Baylor Shireman.
That's right. That is correct. All right, guys, pretty quick roundup this week. That means we are moving over to our previews. Mountain West, West Coast. Kai, I believe you are setting the table for the MWC.
Let's do it, guys. The Mountain West. We are going to go through Matt's opinions on the WCC for the Almanac. However, for the Mountain West, we have several guys writing the section. I took Wyoming. Jim took a couple teams, I believe. Maybe just one.
I got Fresno.
Oh, Matt took Fresno. Did you take any Mountain West, Jim?
I did not, but Jeff Goodman wrote a New
Mexico.
Wrote
Mexico, yeah.
Brian, Eli, a couple people mixed in there from Heat Check. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll talk about these teams in alphabetical order. However, I will say off the top, if I were to choose a champion of this league, I would choose San Diego State. Maybe not super surprising, but
boring.
It's going to be a good league, though. I was going through these teams. You know, there's a lot of solid squads. I think it could be a multi-bid league once again, like 3 teams, maybe even 4. Don't know if you've thought much about that yet, Matthew.
I have, and I think this year, hold on a second, I have my official my weighted average rating thing. I was like, is this league better or worse than last year? That's the question I always have to ask. It's basically the same. It's the same.
It's exact
same. It's deep in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of bubble-icious contenders. I guess probably 6 maybe realistically. But I think the Aztecs are kind of the head and shoulders favorite just because of the institutional success they've had. Yeah, they lost some key pieces, but I don't think there's, like 2 years ago in the Mountain, there's no stinkers for sure. I think there's no dead weight, but there's no we've seen Boise be like top 40, top 30 good. We've seen Colorado State like in Nico Medved's peak of powers. I mean, Nevada was awesome last year. Are they going to be that good this year? Probably not. New Mexico will probably be awesome again, but will they be as awesome as so I think there's kind of a little bit like avoiding like that 2 to 5 range where San Diego State, while they lose dudes, will still probably be the best team.
I think Air Force's style might prevent them, but that roster's kind of a stinker. I don't know. We're gonna get to them first in the alphabet. I think they lose some playmaking. I don't know, man. I'm worried.
Worth noting, Taylor. This league finished above the ACC as a whole in KenPom last year. So Power 6, Mountain West. As far as all conference goes, again, we'll go through Matt's for the WCC. Worth noting, this league actually has a lot of good players coming back. You see most leagues around the country, most guys that make all conference teams are either NBA guys or seniors. And this league has a bunch of returners.
Or they transfer somewhere,
or
greener pastures. Yeah.
Jalen House, Isaiah Stevens, and Tyson Dagenhart from New Mexico, Colorado State, and Boise, respectively. They're all first teamers that are back. It's pretty rare getting 3 back in the league. Jim actually took the liberty of making his own teams for us. If Jim, you just want to run through those and we can discuss.
Oh, Kai, I would love to. Just trying to make sure I have the right tab open here. I was kind of cycling between different ones as we go. Where'd it go? There it is. All right. First team, I have got a couple of the guys coming back. Isaiah Stevens, Butler from San Diego State. I think he ends up kind of elevating into the alpha role for the Aztecs. Curious how you guys feel about that. If you think it'll be Trammell. But then Jalen House, Jamal Mashburn, I'm putting both New Mexico guys on the first team. And then Dagenhart, a lock from Boise State. I think he's got to be there. He's the only roll forward.
Wow. Disagree? Player of the year, Dagenhart. Wow.
Isaiah Stevens, player of the year for me.
I would agree with that. I would agree with Stevens, Jim.
I'm rocking some Colorado State home field gear right now. Free ad. So shout out to Isaiah Stevens. Second team for me, Keenan Blackshear from Nevada. Max Rice from Boise. Get another Bronco representing there. Caleb Boone from UNLV. Super productive at Oklahoma State last year. Going to give him the bump on the second team. Patrick Cartier from Colorado State. I really think the Rams are going to be better this year, racked by injuries last year. And then Darian Trammell from San Diego State there. Third team, Alvaro Cardenas from San Jose State. Reese Waters from San Diego State, who's going by Reese Waters on the official roster, not Dixon Waters, which I just remember old Bill Walton calling him Reese Waters Davis repeatedly all the time because of Reese Davis. And I will miss that on Pac-12 After Dark.
Who's the backcourt baseball guy?
Reese Worthington.
Oh, Worthington.
Worthington.
That's
Reese Worthington.
Come on, buddy.
Worthington. Yeah. That's right.
Wait to be on there, Kai. Yes, he was. Never chose him. Useless.
Yeah.
Chibuzo Agbo from Boise. Great Osobor from Utah State. Wanted somebody from the Aggies on there, and I was always impressed with him at Montana State. He's following his coach. And then Nelly Jr. Joseph from Iona via New Mexico, playing for his old coach's son, Richard Patino, the interior enforcer for the Lobos. That's just an idea of it. No, those aren't perfect. And again, we're going to have maybe different ones in the almanac coming out soon, but that was just where I landed on kind of a quick survey of it.
I love it. Let's dive into teams. Again, alphabetical. Here we go. Air Force is where we're starting here. So Jim is skeptical of the Falcons. I think Joe Scott's hitting his stride.
I'm with Kai.
332, 269, 147. That's his trajectory last 3 years at Air Force. And he's had this program very good before. Number 36 in 2004. You lose Heidbreder, but Taylor's good, Matt. 7 guys in total who played at least 19 minutes per game are back. I say solid. I think they can surprise people. What do you think?
When I watch this team play, because I was so confused how they kept playing so competitively, so consistently. Like you've seen Air Force in years past, and it's like they always have, they look categorically less athletic and less physically imposing than the competition, especially by Mountain West standards. You always had like 1 or 2 guys that look like power conference dudes. It's actually kind of an athletic roster. Like, I mean, Ethan Taylor is a good table setter. Who's it? Corbin Green is the guy, kind of like the guy. Big, like, hulkish Swiss Army knife defender. It's like, okay, yeah, they need that guy. And he's helped them on defense. They have a ton of guys coming back. And I just think you're right, Kai. Scott's been really good since he's returned to Colorado Springs. So I'm kind of in on Air Force. Now, like, being in on Air Force is always, you have to contextualize that with a grain of salt. Like, are they going to finish the upper half of the league? No, they're not, but they're going to not be a deadweight 2-16 team like they were for a few seasons. So that's how I'm high on Air Force.
I guess not having Green for a lot of Mountain West last year hurt them, but their defense was horrific. And watching them, it felt like smoke and mirrors. They were dead last in the conference in 2-point percentage. Just kind of that zone trying to fool teams into taking bad shots. And most of the time they didn't. I think Heidbreder's a big loss offensively. I mean, that's almost a 50, 40, 90 guy from all over the floor, like big time scorers. A reason he's in the ACC now because of the way he can shoot. But Petrides is really, really solid. He came on late last year when he got into the starting lineup. Corbin Green back. You put those guys together. I sort of buy it. And the system kind of takes away the need for an individual creator, the way he runs offense at Princeton stuff. But I just think the defense is going to be really bad again. I'm sorry. I'm selling that end of the floor.
Worth noting, and to Jim's point, actually, and maybe this is an angle we should be looking at. Air Force non-con ATS last year, 9-4, in conference play 9-10. So they do better against teams that aren't familiar with their style, and that's pretty much a Joe Scott runs. He's still Princeton offense, I believe. So
yeah, you can also probably draw a fairly straight line to Corbin Green's availability. You just look at the games he played in, started, and actually played big minutes. Were pretty clearly some of their better efforts. Yeah. So
they lost at home to A&M Commerce, so they lost to Portland by double digit at home, lost to Bowling Green, not really a good team. And then he came back and they were actually good. That's a good point.
Yep.
Next team, Boise State. Guys, how good is Leon Rice? He might be the most underrated, never talked about coach in the country. 10 out of 13 years in KenPom, he's outperformed his preseason projection. 10 out of 13. 2 straight tournaments at Boise. And Jim, they got a solid core back. We've already mentioned Dagenhart and Rice and Agbo. I don't know if I mentioned Agbo yet, but he's back too. What do you think of the Broncos this year?
Yeah, I slid Agbo onto the third team there.
There you go.
So we did give him a little bit of a shout. Point guard turnovers big. You go from Marcus Shaver, the big shot maker, like just could not miss late in games, even though he had a little bit of a injury plagued year last year, to Roddy Anderson, who I liked a little at UC San Diego, but he couldn't make a jumper. He was turnover prone as a freshman. I've got a little better talent around him, so that helps. But you don't have the same kind of interior enforcer, Matt. You don't have the same switchable team that they had a couple years ago with Key Gab and some of those athletes. I love Dagenhart. Max Rice is an MFer, like absolutely no question. I think they're a little bit worse than last year.
I still think they kind of have that fun switchability angle a little bit, just because I love Agbo. Maybe I'm just overlooking at Agbo as being like kind of the microcosm of that. But we talk about Kai, how like a lot of teams brought back guys, especially at the lead guard, point guard spot. Roddy Anderson is so fun. I just don't know if he's effective in a Mountain West context. Like he was really up and down in the Big West, like fun, dynamic, explosive in the open court, but kind of gives me like Ezra Mannion vibes, who went to Vanderbilt. He's actually been a lot better than we thought there, but still, I just don't know if I trust him. However, I feel like you can find a nitpick every season with Leon Rice's roster, and he turns out to be a lot better than you think. And I think Dagenhart's like phenomenal, just like the most underassuming tough to scout, prepare for. You don't know how he scores. He's not really that fast off the dribble. He's not like he's 6'10". He just has like the old man crafty game, can, angles, finisher, can shoot it. He's just a good player, just an awesome player.
Cam Martin, about him. He was kind of forgotten about on Kansas's bench. He was hurt. The guy was a stud in D2, All-American, player of the year, maybe in D2. Like 25 points per game. He could be really good if he's healthy. All right, moving on. Colorado State. Kai says the Rams are going to be tough this year. It's easy to forget how good they were under Medved the prior to last season when they kind of flamed out. They lost a lot of guys last year. 3 straight top 100 finishes, a 6th seed in 2022 with that really, really good team. Stevens, we talked about. Matt, among the best guards in America. They get another good guard from Colorado coming in, Clifford. A lot of depth, a lot of returners. I think they're going to be really good. And I love Medved. What do you think?
Yeah, love the coach. Healthy Stevens, just stay healthy. This team, it's not like Wyoming bad, but a team that was really pillaged by injuries last season and just didn't have enough depth. Jim, the question is always defense. I'd say, again, I think you can say a lot of the same things with Wyoming, Colorado State. 2 coaches, very analytically driven, money ball, offensively an absolute treat. But there's a cost to building your roster, stacking your deck so much on offenses. Can you get stops? Is this team big enough, Jim? Is it sturdy enough inside? That's where I go,
Unfortunately, my answer is no to that question, Matthew. I think this defense is going to really, really struggle. I think this could be like a top 30 offense. Like it is that potential. Stevens is that good of a maestro. They've got some shooters. Their front court transfers that they've gotten from lower levels, Cartier and Joel Scott, can both really shoot the ball and space you out. So I think the offense is going to be a lovely symphony, beautiful to watch, but I don't know how they're getting any stops. Rebounding, shot blocking is like a major, major question mark. Positional size, especially inside, is an issue. Stevens is small at point. I think they are going to be playing a lot of shootouts, and maybe that's smart. Elevation, get teams running at Colorado State, but I don't know, Kai. I feel like they're going to be really, really weighted towards offense, and I don't know if the defense is going to be good enough to get to at-large caliber.
We've seen that a couple times with Medved, and he's had a top 30 offense. We know he can do it. But yeah, I'm thinking like 2020, boom, 52nd offense, 172 defense, 99 overall. I think they're a little bit better than that, but that seems to be a good litmus test or whatever watermark right now. We'll say
it's at least deeper than last year for sure.
Yep.
Like again, it's deep in the guard at the guard spot. You like them again. If there's free agents, you could make a trade for a big, but they'll be better just because they'll be deeper and healthier.
Yeah, I wish Moores had come back instead of gone pro in New Zealand. Would have been nice. But yeah, Kai, I think what your point is like good median outcome, and there is the best case of the 2022 team that was top 30 offense, defense snuck in inside the top 100, and they were top 50 at large caliber. It's in the realm of possibility, but I think that's really, really high end.
To Fresno State we go, which Matt wrote for the Almanac. He talked to Justin Hudson. I don't know what I think about Hudson, Matthew, not from a person perspective, from a coach perspective. He's fine. His defenses are usually good. He's got some solid backcourt production with Hill coming back, Ducell from Wyoming, Pope from Utah Tech, solid additions. The front court's kind of meh for me, and I guess Fresno's results over the last couple of years are kind of meh for me as well.
Yeah, I think I've been like the highest on Hudson. I just think I bought so much into his defensive whisperer reputation when he came from San Diego State, basically a Brian Dutcher disciple. And they have been good defensively, and they were really good when he first got there. It just took time, I think, last year to adjust to life without Orlando Robinson, who, for people who don't like watch games outside of the top 6 conferences, like he was probably the most important player to his team in the country for like 2 straight seasons. So you just like remove that hub of importance. I think they kind of had to adjust. The roster is meh to me. I think the front line's actually pretty good. Like Hudson's had this weird big man pipeline going where he's had some kind of fringe big guys that have defected and had really good like seasons elsewhere. He's really high on Boyack, the Arizona State guy, former like top 50 recruit.
Bake?
What's that? Boake?
Jim's on mute.
I think it's pronounced Boachi, which is really weird based on the letters, but I think I saw that in the Arizona State game. I'm not positive.
Like, I think he's going to be good. Andre and who's the other guy? Yeah, Andre's good too. I actually like their bigs, Kai. I think they're going to be feisty. It's the same. It's always a feisty team. They will not be bad. They will probably, but they'll I don't see an offensive ceiling here that's very high. It's just like,
yeah, they're going to miss Anthony Holland, who I loved. He's now at Washington. I think he's a terrific complementary piece who defended and shot. Ducell and Pope can make jumpers, but Matt, their guard group always takes weird shots.
Yeah, Isaiah Hill. Do you like Isaiah Hill? It's a lot.
Yeah, and like when Jordan Campbell was there, it's like, why are you shooting that shot? And the last thing I'll add on them, because I reviewed Mr. Goodman's hot seat piece for the Almanac, this is the last year of Hudson's deal. He does not have an extension in place. So he's probably coaching for his job, needs to do really well this year with this group. And I'm not sure that it's set up for the success he needs to keep it. So we'll see.
Good info. They'll be towards the bottom for me, I think, just eyeballing the league right now. Nevada. Steve, Nevada is how they pronounce the city in Missouri. Nevada, Missouri. I had a fraternity brother from there. Yeah, that you know how small town Middle America pronounces names. Steve Alford, he does pretty well in this conference generally, dating back to his days in New Mexico. Will Baker is gone, but pretty much everyone else, for the most part, is back from a good team. The backcourt is very good, solid depth. And Jim, they're very old. I spy 4 graduate students in their starting 5.
Yeah, defense should be really good. In my perception, Baker was a little bit of a weak link there. He had size, but he wasn't super mobile. Darian Williams was awesome, and he's at Texas Tech and is going to be a defensive monster under McCaslin. But they're a little more versatile without Baker. Himes is more mobile, and Matt, they're big in the backcourt because they got onto the Blackshear at point thing almost by accident last year. You had the read on Nevada all last year, Matthew. They feel like middle to high in the conference again. I'm not sure I'm going to say they're back-to-back at-large teams, especially after they got spanked by Arizona State in the play-in round. But it's a really solid team. It's going to be competitive in a strong Mountain West and kind of keep the middle section of the league high.
Yeah, I think it was addition. I don't want to call Hunter McIntosh a Ewing theory guy, but the point guard that they signed from Elon to come run the show, he gets hurt, and they put Blackshear at point, which is a 6'6" point guard, and they just had all this length and defensive, Foresty. That was like that was their whole thing last year. That's why they were good. So they bring McIntosh back in the mix. Like, how does he coexist with Blackshear? I almost feel like it's going to be weird. And they kind of lost that element with inserting just one more traditional guard in the background. There's still talent, there's experience, there's guys who can defend, some versatility. I like Alford when he's underrated and back against the wall. I don't like him with like big expectations and tons of talent to go, you know what I mean? So I think it's kind of, this team's still in its wheelhouse, but it's drifted a little outside its wheelhouse from last year if they're trying to replicate last year's formula. So not a tourney team.
Not a tourney team, I agree.
NIT team, maybe.
Moving on to New Mexico. Shout out Jeff Kramer in the chat. New Mexico, the Lobos. Boy, the cat got out of the bag so fast on this team last season.
Ridiculous.
Preseason 138 in KenPom, and apparently bettors everywhere were like, oh, baby. Super underrated. People pounced on them. They ended 66 in KenPom. Really, they were better than that for a lot of the year, and looked like a surefire tournament team at one point. Richard Pitino, solid enough as the coach, but boy, they still have the best guard combo in the league. Matthew, House, and Mashburn. You add Jamal Baker, who began his career at Kentucky and then went to Arizona and played at Fresno State. That's a great addition. And then Mustafa Amzil and Nelly Jr. Joseph. I like this team a lot. This is going to be a good team. I'd say they are better than last season.
I think they're a little better. I do think they were actually underrated last year, like the Udezi Alec combination. Like we're really effective as really good. Like a guy you can throw it on the block. He got big buckets late. Alec was kind of like defensive, very important from the UMKC Billy Donlin tree there. So they just kept their kind of guard firepower intact, and they're just replenished the role supporting cast. So it comes down to, do you think the guys they brought in are better than the guys they lost? And I kind of think on paper, yes, but there's a little bit of a higher range of outcomes. Like Jamal Baker, will he stay healthy? I don't know. He hasn't been healthy his entire career. Amzil was part of the Dayton injury curse last season too. I think they're actually, I'm with you, Kai. They're a little better, not a lot better.
How is Junior Joseph going to be really good? He's like MAC effective, Metro Atlantic caliber player of the year.
What they need, what they need for sure.
Yeah, he won't be Udeze. And I read through Mr. Goodman's preview of
different
New
players,
Mexico.
right?
And yeah, Richard Pitino's like, look, we don't need to be elite defensively. We just have to be better. Because last year they were often a sieve, played a ton of shootouts, kind of what we said about Colorado State. That's what this team was, with big time guard playmaking, shooting off the bench. Amzil gives them like the stretch 4 option, and Junior Joseph is more of an enforcer at the rim than Udeze was, especially defensively. Maybe not like an elite shot blocker, but he's better than Udeze was. He's bigger, he's a little longer. So maybe the defense gets a little better. I love Mushila from Corpus Christi, part of 2 different tournament teams, super active, kind of a strange fit at this level if you're looking into him to be a star, but I think he's gonna be a nice complementary piece. I think they're slightly better also. That's kind of where I landed. I think the defense ticks up a bit, and the offense isn't going to really tumble off a cliff, especially if, like Matt said, Baker stays healthy. That's very important. 7th year of college for that guy.
Yeah. Actually, hey, let me amend that. Even if he doesn't, my guy Donovan Dent, who I believe is like first team all conference and suddenly, no, he's good.
He is a horrible shooter.
I know.
Just an incredible athlete.
So good off the bounce.
Gosh, looking back, man, 18-2. This team was last year, and they finished the year 3-8 in the regular season. What a bummer. We were really rooting for them to make the tournament too. Maybe this year. All right, San Diego State, the hands down favorite, unanimous favorite, I would assume, based on top 25s I've seen. I think they're going to be great again. I'm surprised a little bit to see them not garner as much respect as I kind of expected in early preseason polls. I think Dutcher is a proven winner. The program is certainly a proven winner. He's been 14, 25, 36 in his last 4 years on KenPom. And Jim, the backcourt is still awesome. Can the newly named Reese Waters give you 75% of Matt Bradley offensively?
Yes.
I like Jay Powell as an addition. I think it's the best team easily in the Mountain West.
I like Waters a lot. Sorry, Jim, go ahead.
No, I'm with you. I think Waters is going to be a nice fit on the perimeter. And yes, you lose some creation with Bradley, but I think Trammell and Butler are capable of more than what they did last year in that regard. Waters just needs to hit a few more shots than he did last year. Interior defense probably not going to be the same without Mensah. I mean, they were like, sign them up, top 10 defense, automatic for like all 5 years he was there. I mean, not every time, but Mensah was just a blanket. Ledee is a little more offensive tilted. And I'm not a Jay Powell guy. I'm not a fan. I think he's a little flimsy. Wow. I don't think he's as good a shooter as you think. Maybe Dutcher crafts him into a nice solid defender, but he's coming from the Big South, which is a world different than the Mountain West. I'm not his buddy. I'm not his pal. I'll say
that. I like this team, and I like Dutcher too much. This was one of the, when we talk overreaction or hot takes, bold predictions, whenever we do that episode, one of my percolating bold takes is that this team not misses the tournament, but really struggles this year. I think there is some real question marks on both sides. Again, I think the institutional success is why I'm not going to go there, but you take away Brian Dutcher from this team. I like Trammell and Butler, but I think they relied heavily on Bradley to bail them out as like a shot maker last year. I like Waters a lot, but I don't know if he's like Bradley as like a superhero guy on offense. And without Mensah as like the epicenter of that defense for multiple years, there's some questions on both sides. So when the Aztecs start off 3-5 in conference play, you can say you heard it here first.
No chance they lose 5 games in conference play. No, I'll take a board bet.
They'll lose 8 out of 18. You think they're going 14-4 better, Kai? I'll take 5 or more losses for sure.
It's going to be a struggle. I bet they
have not lost 5 games since 2019 in conference play.
I think this is the worst roster since 2019.
Hard disagree. I think Trammell and Butler proved that they could be just fine without Butler in the tournament. I mean, or Bradley, excuse me. Bradley was the third banana in the tournament for a lot of those games.
They can't shoot. You just sag off and you make them shoot on the drop coverage. I don't know. I think they're defendable. I really do.
And I think Ledee has potential to be a good defender.
They need him to be awesome.
He's a freaking bust.
They need him to be awesome on offense because he can be for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to go sliding doors here. Tied with 3 minutes left against Charleston in opening round. How do we view them? If they don't go to the national title game, they get the free throws against Creighton. They get the buzzer beater against FAU.
They should have lost FAU. Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm not going to say that's like heavily influencing Kai here on like they're definitely good. It's more about how great they've been. Like you said, they haven't lost 5 games in league play since 19.
Right.
I just don't love this team because of the Mensah factors. He's been a part of all 4 of those teams that only lost 2 or 3 league games. So I think the defense ticks down a little and the offense isn't quite able to make up for it.
So, yeah, that's fair point. Still top 15 team going into the tournament last year. But Mensah's a good point, fellas.
Yeah, I think I rated him like 25th in our countdown and would probably move them down to like 32nd now.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. I like when we disagree though. It's a lot better content.
Did we officially lock in a 5-loss board bet there or no? I didn't.
I would take it. Yeah, I think they're going to be better than that.
Cool. I'm in 13-5 or worse.
Wow. Oof.
To be
Island boy. All right.
There you go.
San Jose State. Tim Miles is the man, but I'm not sure he captures lightning twice, Matthew. The best KenPom season ever for San Jose State last year. Top 100. That's hard to do at this
top
this
5
school.
Coaching job last year in the country.
Yes.
Just
maybe
insane.
Even better than that. Omari Moore gone. He was player of the year last year. That's brutal. This roster is not talented, in my opinion. I said there was no stinkers in this league. If Tim Miles wasn't here, there would be in San Jose State, but he is so good that I might just like give that a pass, but they're still finishing last, in my opinion.
Oh, I disagree. I don't like it as much as last year, but I think this team is competitive-ish again.
Who do they finish above?
Air Force.
All right. Board bet.
Yeah, I'll go board bet. Wait, let me make sure I have my. Hold on one sec.
I haven't assigned a rating to these. Are 2 of the 3 I haven't given a numerical rating to.
Yeah, so. I think they're better than Air Force. Let me tell you why, Kai.
Wow. Okay.
So MJ Amy is actually a very good player. He just needs to be healthy. If he's healthy, he's not going to be as good as Omari Moore, but I think he was like a really good shot maker. And they just need like one of those dudes because Miles will manufacture points with the other guys. And I think at the rim, if the DeYoung stud is like even 80% of what Diallo gave last year, like that's what lifted them. They had a really good front line. And then the Fresno transfer was excellent when he came in. They had like this double 2-headed monster up front. They were really good at the rim. They ran good stuff. They're well coached. I think that formula is repeatable. It's not going to be at the same level as last season, not top 100, but it's certainly good enough to be fringe top 175, top 150, and be better than Air Force and maybe
Air
one
Force
other
was
team
top 150 last year. You don't think Air Force is?
They're down a little bit this year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of where I land. I'm with Matt. I think San Jose State's a little better, and part of that is like I just believe in Miles. I mean, getting this program was like bottom 50 in the country for year after year after year, and then he gets there and elevates them into competence. Mm-hmm. Roster isn't dazzling, sparkling by any means. They were super reliant on Omari Moore. I believe he was a 2-way contract for the Milwaukee Bucks this offseason. Shout out to my guys, the Bucks. But I think they're a little better than Air Force. Like I said, no hybrid there, defensive potential foibles. And again, this could go back to me underrating Air Force based on Corbin Green not being available for a lot of the year. But I'll ride with Timmy Miles as a slight edge on Air Force. Would it be conference finish or KenPom ranking, especially based on unbalanced schedules?
Let's go KenPom.
I'd go KenPom ranking.
Yeah,
cool.
Sure.
Let's do it.
But Kai, your initial point still, there is no dead weight in this conference because of the Timmy Miles impact at San Jose State. Yeah, it's just, and now Joe Scott, there's no patsies in this league.
Yeah, I'm trying to load the Bart Torvik projections for next year. Air Force is 150th, San Jose State 119th. So Kai, by
holy cow,
still take it.
Yeah.
Omari Moore last year, when he was on, 110 points per 100 possessions. When he was off, 90. That's a lot.
I mean, he was player of the year for a reason for a team that wasn't even that good. So it is worrisome that he's gone.
Jim, is your camera a little blurry? I don't want
to. It's been going in and out. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure you're all right over there. Okay, moving on. UNLV, Kruger, a solid 2 years, I'll say. Top 100 each season, better than preseason KenPom projections in each year. I mean, his dad is a pretty good coach. So it makes sense. But Harkless, that was a big loss. Third nationally in usage. What was Harkless last season for UNLV, which surprised me. I didn't realize he was that heavily used. I love this front court this season. Jim mentioned Boone in his all Mountain West picks, but their front court is a Big 12 front court. It's Jalen Hill. It's the Boones. That's huge. Backcourt may be more of a question mark than we've seen in the past, but Matt, I tend to trust Kruger a little bit more now after seeing the first 2 seasons.
I do too. And the backcourt's a major question mark. I'll just go ahead and take it to that level. But I've been like stubbornly in on the Kruger experiment at UNLV the last 2 years. And I feel like I'm right about it, but then there's always this like weird stretch of the season where it's like, the team just doesn't look like it's like what I thought. And they've had a ton of pieces come in and they've had some injuries, and it just feels like they almost have too much depth sometimes. Like there's no clear pecking order, and it really hurts. It really shows, I guess, in the backcourt. And that's my concern this year. There's really not like a creator of point guard unless they give it to DJ Thomas, like the stud local rookie kid who looks awesome in highlights. Like I love him. I have him like as a star, like keep an eye on him, but he's like, I think maybe a reclass guy, which reclass point guards, we are on record as sort of selling those dudes. So yeah, but I think the frontline talent and the defense will probably keep him right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, the guard play is a major concern for me here. Like I used to love Jackie Johnson, and then I realized everybody on that Duquesne team that went like 1-18 in league play was not a winner, and I need to stop going to bat for them. So he was like playing behind Primo Spears for a team that was no bueno. That concerns me. The interior is gonna be awesome. Like if Cottrell is healthy, you add in the Boone twins, Jalen Hill, like their 3 through 5 is going to be really tough to deal with. Rodriguez can guard like every single position. They've got experience. It seems like every year they just get like 3 Big 12 players and then, all right, we'll figure it out from there. I've got them lower end though. I feel like in the past couple of years, I've been higher on UNLV than where analytics have them going to the year. And just looking at Bart Torvik's rankings for next year, I'm lower on UNLV.
Yes. Okay. I'll go with that, Jim. I haven't done my rating yet, but I think I'm in your camp.
Where does Bart have them? Let's see.
Don't give it away.
Ooh.
I'm trying not to look when I do these ratings.
Yeah, okay, no, sorry.
You don't want to get that in your head.
I look after I do my
Bart
rating.
loves him.
That's
wow. Bart loves him. Man, Bart, I like him. I don't like him that much.
Yeah. All right. UNLV.
Hi, I'm just going to say their ranking is nice.
Sorry.
How about that?
Nice.
Hey, how about this real quick? Here's a fun little...
yeah, I just wanted to see your reaction.
Fantastic.
That's a little high.
It's good news.
It's a little
for us.
Loyola. Kai in order. It goes Loyola, Oklahoma, UNLV. Kind of a fun little
interesting
connection line there. Yeah.
Okay. Utah State. Wow. This is an interesting team. Talk about the biggest unknown. I love Danny Sprinkle, new coach from Montana State, but does he have the same juice outside of his alma mater? Ryan Odom was a great coach as well. So it's tough to follow in his footsteps. The team is entirely made up of transfers. There's not one returning Utah State guy from last season, as far as I can tell. But it's a solid crop of transfers. I spy a couple well-regarded recruits in here, a couple guys that were productive at previous stops. Like I said, Jim, though, it's the highest variance team in this league. It could be anything.
Yeah, my rating for them is a complete shrug, coin flip, willing to move off it at a moment's notice if they look bad or good early. My prevailing thought as I evaluated them, Matt, was I think this is a worse roster than like his best Montana State team. And that team rated a certain level in advanced stuff.
Yeah,
and in my own ratings,
the same. Yep.
Like his point guard is from that team. His center, Asabor, was a 6th man for that team. And then you had a guy from Idaho, Coastal Carolina, Maryland, the 8th man. Like all that cobbled together doesn't look that great to me. But I do trust Sprinkle. I think the defensive floor is fairly high because of how hard they play, how physically they play. So that keeps them competitive. But this isn't like, this isn't a Ryan Odom Utah State team. It's not going to be an orchestra to watch on offense. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just a complete 180 in terms of style. Just like what we're going to see with VCU, Rhodes leaving, Odom going there, just a whole different team, whole different style. Jim, I had the same approach. Hey, you basically have the cool Montana State team. You bring your coach, your point guard, your center, and you kind of round out the edges with fringe guys. I like the fringe guys better than you, it sounds like.
They're not better than Jabril Bello or Raekwon Battle. They're not.
So Battle, is Battle way better than Ian Martinez or Josh Udeje? Okay, yes. Okay, fine.
He's going to start for someone this year.
West Virginia. Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be very good. That's kind of okay. Anyway, the whole thing.
Coastal wasn't
I think they're a little
good.
better, not a lot better. I like the way Jim attacked the analysis there. I like some of the role guys better than Jim probably does. I
think Sprinkle can coach. So again, I don't know what this is going to look like.
You'd rather have Ryan Odom if we're going to be honest about it, but I like Sprinkle a lot.
Would maybe, I don't know.
No, Odom for sure. 10 times out of 10. Sorry. That's just how Odom's awesome. Odom's fantastic.
Odom is awesome. I agree. I'd probably take him if push comes to shove. I'm just looking at, Sprinkle, what he's done at Montana State.
Yeah,
has never been done.
No,
it's never been done.
Great point. 2 years. Fair point. Right. And they had who was there? Taylor Hall or TJ Hall, and they still were never that good with him. Yeah. No good point.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Wyoming rounds us out of the Mountain West. I actually wrote this preview. So I talked to Mr. Jeff Linder. I'm going to be higher on them compared to others, partially because Linder was such a great conversation. He's a great dude. I love their backcourt. Sam Griffin, a stud scorer, albeit from a bad team in Tulsa last year.
That is so kind. That is kind.
They're the worst ATS team in the country, if I'm not mistaken. Aquel Cott, a D2 transfer. Linder said he's the best scorer he's ever coached. D2 All-American last year. Loves him. Mason Walters up front.
This is the guy, Kai. Tell me about him. The NAIA monster.
This is the guy. 3-time NAIA All-American, Player of the Year last year. Linder said he is a pro. 6'9" graduate transfer from the NAIA level. He's going to be if he's that good, like a first team all Mountain West guy, and Cott is that good of a scorer, and Wyoming stays healthy this year, unlike the last couple of years, they're going to be top 5 team in this league, or possibly top 5 team in this league. The depth though, Matt, pretty young. He's going to run an 8-man rotation. So hopefully they have better injury luck.
Yeah, and they have a lot of freshmen who will be filling those depth shoes should an injury occur. I don't love that. I feel like, depth is young. Again, we talked about the comparisons between Colorado State, 2 coaches we like, sort of in the same part of the country, coming off injury-ridden seasons. We're sort of betting on a bounce back. There's just a lot more unknown and instability with this roster. And that's excluding, even if you assume the D2 and NAIA guys are awesome, I still think there's a lot of unknowns outside of that. So I love Linder. I just don't, I feel like he's sort of grasping for straws with his roster construction to a point, and it's not, it's based on the standard he set when he was awesome when he first got there. I just don't know if they're going to get back for this year. I don't see it.
Yeah, this isn't quite up to the normal snuff. Walters is the major swing for me. Last year, Morehead State took Alex Gross from the NAIA level, and he was awesome.
He's really good.
Really good for them. Like almost player of the year in the OVC, but that's the OVC. This is the Mountain West. Like those are 2 different worlds. I do have to love Mason Walters, Kai, because he's from Jamestown. Do you know what Jamestown, their mascot is?
I do not. The Jameses?
The Jimmies. The Jimmies. You're right on. You're on my train of thought there. So I hope he rocks. The stat line is ridiculous. He shot 64% from the field. He made threes. He blocked shots. He averaged a double-double and 26 points. Ludicrous numbers, but this is a major, major step up. And like Matt said, the depth is like, we're going to need freshmen, unheralded freshmen to play big roles. So it feels more like the year before they broke out when they were like, pretty solid, competitive, maybe projectable the next year. But this is bottom half Mountain West for me.
Yeah, I'll be higher on them. I'm probably biased just from talking to. It's going to be a lot like he said. It's more like his Northern Colorado teams than Wyoming stylistically, because they don't have much of a post presence this year. It's going to be, a lot of 5-out or whatever it is, shooters all over the place. All right, Matt. Excuse me. I will conclude the Mountain West with hooray. How many tournament teams?
Yes,
let's do that. Okay, Kai says 3. I want San Diego State. I'm going Colorado State. I'm going 4. New Mexico and Boise. 4 teams.
I'm going 3. San Diego State gets in there. New Mexico. Those are my 2 most solid. So shout out Mr. Grammer and the Albuquerque boys. And then one of Boise State and Colorado State. Either the Boise State defense gets them there or the Colorado State offense gets them there. That's where I land, Matthew.
I'm going to go 3. I could see 2. I really could.
Down in the league.
I just don't think there's enough. I just think there's enough question marks with the New Mexico. Sorry. Well, Aztecs, I mentioned my question marks. So I think you have to assume they're going to make the tournament, but again, I'm a little worried about that. New Mexico, I'm probably actually the most secure about. Boise, Colorado State, and the running Rebs are the other 3. And I could see that. I'll go
UNLV
3.
You have on the at-large periphery, do you? Interesting.
The last
now on the outside looking in, you're right. That's what I'm saying. I'm going 2. Screw it. I'm going 2. I'm going 2.
I think the last 2 years have been the best in the conference's history, at least when I'm looking back here. 4 tournament teams each year for them. So the conference is either trajectory up or it starts to decline this season.
I think 3 is a good baseline, and 3 is more in line with the historical norms.
Will anyone besides San Diego State win a tournament game? It's been the Mountain West bugaboo for years and years and years. They finally got to the final, but I don't know. I don't know if these New Mexico can win. Their guards are so good.
They could definitely win a game or 2 in the tournament. Yes. All right, Matt, take us away. WCC. Let's do it.
WCC. We're gonna go. You want to go alphabetical here? Or do you want to go in standings order projected?
standings order.
Standings.
We'll go
Standings.
Only 9
yeah.
teams. Only 9.
Give us your
nice.
standings in your all conference, buddy.
Standings. I have the Gonzaga Bulldogs 1, St. Mary's 2. We'll talk about this debate, which will be kind of the hot button topic of this league, right? That's the whole narrative with this conference is Gonzaga has sort of plateaued, let's say, and St. Mary's has just gone to a new gear that we didn't think Randy Bennett had. It was like always like the fun, cute 10 seed fringe top 25, top 30 St. Mary's team, and then they've just kind of blown that out of the water the last couple of years, and some dudes coming back there.
Gonzaga
the league
plateaued. At the top of the country.
That's what I'm saying. They can't be any better. They're already there. And I think this year's roster has, let's be honest, it has a little more question marks.
Sure.
There's no Drew Timme there. There's no, I don't know. We'll get to it. And then behind them, the coaches are just so good in this league. San Francisco, Santa Clara, Loyola Marymount, Portland, I kind of had it in some order. I actually chose the Dons 3. Shout out to Chris Krlefson, our boy, former Todd Golden assistant. At LMU 4, I think Stan Johnson's got something working in LA. Ton of talent. Kai, you kind of convinced me last year that this team could really pop, and I think they have enough coming back to where they will again. Santa Clara, Herb Sendek at 5, which is probably the wrong choice. I should have put him at 3 because every year he's just awesome, and he finds lottery picks underneath stones, and he'll probably have 1 or 2 this year come from nowhere.
No.
I got Portland 6, Shanty League into the bounce back after last season. They lost a ton of close games. Pepperdine, who has won, 2 games in the last 10 years, it seems like. I have them finishing 7th, which is probably going to be made fun of by some people, but whatever. Here's why, because I have Pacific 8th and San Diego, sorry, Steve, 9th. Some major holes on those rosters.
Yes. Good standings.
All conference, Aiden Mahaney, St. Mary's, the darling of last year's tournament.
Your player of the year pick, right?
Player of the year pick. He's really good. Shocking to not pick a Gonzaga guy, but I think this is the year to do it. And Gonzaga has some who will be the alpha guy. Although if it is going to be anyone, it's going to be Ryan Nemhart. Fun story coming up from Creighton to run the show for Gonzaga. He's my second first teamer. Tyler Robertson, Portland, Anton Watson, Gonzaga, and Mitchell Saxon, St. Mary's. So Portland or Robertson, the only non-St. Mary's Gonzaga guy there. Second team.
I guess go second team, and then I'll bring up my qualm, so to speak.
Well, Mongolian Mike, I gave tons of love to. Second teamer for the Dons coming over from Dayton. Monster pickup in the portal for San Francisco. I went Houston Millette, the Pepperdine, absolute sniper, sharpshooter, can pull up from 40. I think he puts up just video game numbers, and it's impossible to keep him off this team. Alex Dukas, who's kind of the heart and soul of St. Mary's, I have him. And then Charles Barkley Jr., Kele Lepepe, LMU, making the second team. And Javon Porter, another Porter bloodline lineage product for you Michael Porter MPJ fans out there. So talent in this league is very strong, but I think there's actually kind of a sharper drop off at the bottom this year.
All right, my qualm, I'm going to do it. You have 3 St. Mary's guys, only 2 Gonzaga. That's surprising to me in the first place because of tempo, pace of play.
Yep.
The other thing is, unless you think Graham Ike is going to be hurt, he's an all conference guy here, because Mark Few is almost like Bill Self, and you have a big time interior scorer. The guy's going to put up major numbers. Like Philip Petrus should have won player of the year in this league. There's no way that if Ike is healthy, he's not on an all conference team. That's my stand.
100% over Javon Porter. Easily.
Yeah. I think he's a first teamer.
Ike was preseason Mountain West player of the year last year.
Yeah, it's a health thing. If he's not healthy, okay, I get it. But
that's kind of why
healthy, the system
that's why I stayed away.
Perfect for him.
Is he hurt?
I thought the health, the foot thing's been lingering. They haven't mentioned much about it. I think it could be a real
big man
issue,
foot issues. Wow.
Yeah, I think there's a real chance. I would bet a lot of money he plays less than 24 games this year.
Wow.
But
look at you trying to make money on kids getting hurt. If he is healthy, this sounds stupid, and maybe I'm probably being too cute with that projection. I'll probably make a change for the almanac, because I'm sure I'll get shit for it on every Gonzaga forum just for our credibility. But I do think I bet a good chunk of change he ain't playing a full year this year. But we'll see.
Let's roll into Gonzaga. What do you say?
The Zigzags, as I was saying, still a fun team. It's the Zags. They're awesome. They're always good, and they will be for as long as we live, hopefully, as long as Mark Few's patrolling the sidelines. Do we have question marks, Mr. McKean, about the roster? Does it look a little bit watered down to you talent-wise relative to the holy crap standards of the guys that they've tried it through there for years? Zach Norvell, Corey Kispert, Jalen Suggs,
no Drew Timme. No Drew Timme's tough. They were 2.2118 with Timmy in 5 years. And it's pretty darn good. Before that, 10-1, 21, 7, 24. So these are KenPom ratings. They're going to be awesome. I still think they're a top 15 team. Nembhard is among the best point guards in America. Watson, I believe, is a top 50 player in the Almanac, around there.
I love Watson. I think
Venter's Big Sky Player of the Year. If Ike is healthy, again, he was Mountain West preseason Player of the Year. Hickman was a high recruit. The starting five, I think, is really good. The top six include Ben Gregg, is very good. The depth, though, Jim, is the question mark. And I've seen multiple Gonzaga fans try to sell me on one of the freshmen. I don't know. I don't have any reference for them quite yet.
Yeah, Jun Seok Yo, I believe, is the one they love, the South Korean. There's a lot of people that are on him. He enrolled early, which does help, give them a little bit of familiarity. I think Hickman's going to be a lot better not having to be the main ball handler. He shouldn't have been last year. Should have been Malachi Smith. I'll stand by that. But Nembhard really helps him there. Matt, I'm going to derail us real quick with a side tangent. So you guys have to deal with it. I thought this was a really interesting question from Tristan Freeman yesterday on Twitter that made me legitimately stop and think and look at some things. Would you rather have Anton Watson or Olivier Kamwa on your team?
Kamwa.
Both kind of similar pieces, defensive minded, can hit a couple threes, but not really.
Man, I'd take Kamwa. I'd take Kamwa, but I love that this is a debate because I think people sleep on Watson. I think Watson's just been kind of overlooked because he's been in Timmy's shadow. He's just such a perfect player for that system. Runs the floor, can finish, can score.
Interesting.
No, I think it's a system question.
It was framed more as so many Big Ten fans are high on Kamwa as this monster newcomer from Michigan. Is he even better than Watson? Which was interesting. I think I would settle on Kamwa too, but they're both so similar and so good at kind of being a connector piece that I'd love to have either one. So Gonzaga, I have 14th. It's just kind of where they land, Matt. I don't know if they have enough perimeter firepower.
I know, Kai. So this is, as I'm looking at my standings, should I have put St. Mary's over Gonzaga? Or you stand? I know you're a Zags defender, so you believe that I have the right ranking in the current rendition.
Of them, number one?
Yeah.
I do. I think they're number one. Yeah, but not by far.
I think they split with St. Mary's, but I think St. Mary's trips up against somebody else, and by default, that's how I think this conference is settled. I don't think this is there's years where Gonzaga just took St. Mary's the cleaners, and now that's sort of changed. Get
on the fence and call them T1. Come on,
T1. I know. I probably should do that. The old 3-man weave days.
They pretty much are.
They did it last year.
I'm big on St. Mary's this year again, Matthew.
Let's talk about the Gales, who I loaded up with on the all-conference team. Yeah, I'm going to make that change to put EK on there. You're right. Thank you guys for Thomas.
Over Porter.
Porter's going to be awesome. Porter will be really good.
Yeah, he'll be good.
But his team is a losing team. His team is a losing team. I agree.
So Jim and I hold animosity towards the Porters.
Yeah, I don't need two Gonzaga and two Pepperdine guys on my all conference teams when they're going to win 10 different amount of games.
I just felt bad for Pepperdine. That's why I just wanted to give them some love because they have fun players.
I can't wait to talk
St.
about
Mary's.
Pepperdine. But yes, St. Mary's it is. Go.
Randy Bennett, good basketball coach. As he told me last season before I talked, this is a gritty, not pretty team. And that identity is what's buoyed them to, not just fun bubble team, Cinderella-ish, but legit top 5, number 5 seed, elite defensively. And, anchoring that again will be Mitchell Saxon up front. However, I think it's worth cautioning. And even Bennett was he was very stoic, emotionless. He made a point to really say, man, he had this vision of how good Logan Johnson was defensively and how good Kyle Bowen was defensively. He's man, those guys are really good defensively. He inserted that last little comment toward the end of the. So I wonder if their defense is still awesome, but not surefire top 15 awesome. Cause it's not they're walking out there with an NBA type of pros and athletes and length and Skywalker leapers. But it's a really good, complete roster. And I think it's really deep, much deeper than the Zags roster. I think it goes potentially 10 deep. I really do.
Yeah. If we bring up Timmy, it's fair to bring up Johnson for the impact on defense because the last 3 years they've been 10, 12, 13 defensively in KenPom. Before that, Bennett had good defensive teams, but they weren't elite level. And maybe you don't blame all that on Johnson. I think the system itself and Bennett in general getting better players is probably helping that as well. But he was a big deal. I just really like their offense. I think that improves by leaps and bounds with Mahaney being a star. Saxon's very good. Gus, My boy Gus, no one talks about Gus, but he's awesome. I know what I saw in those couple of games I watched. The potential's there. Dukas is good. I think they're right behind Gonzaga, Jim, like an eyelash behind.
Wait, Jim, quick comment on Gus. I want to put the Bear tagline, let it rip. I want Gus to look at that every morning. Like, just let it go. I think he's got it. He just holds himself back. I'm with you. Let it go. Let it rip, Gus.
Plays a little tentative. I buy that. Kind of like, I got to defer to Johnson and Mahaney. This team's a lot closer. Man. This team's closer to prettier than grittier.
Yes,
to me, Matt.
Yes, for sure.
They just don't have the physicality. This is closer. I tweeted about it during our countdown. Closer to the teams that Bennett had that were top 25 offense and shakier defensively. Like, I don't think there's a chance they're a top 15 defense again. Like, I would say no chance. Without Bowen, without Johnson. I mean, Johnson, like you said, Bennett not only raved about it to you in his call, but when I saw them in Maui and Vegas, he was just like, we just throw him on somebody and forget about that guy. Like, Johnson is that good. He just takes him away. So defense falls off a little bit, but you have the rising playmaker in Mahaney. Ross, another top 100 recruit off the bench. It's going to give them a little bit of juice there. Who knows what we get from Chris Howell? He was really well regarded coming in.
Yeah, I think he gets in the lineup, in the rotation. Yep.
I don't know that the offense is quite good enough to put them in lockstep with Gonzaga, but I do have them pretty darn close. I won't quite go 1A, 1B. It's still 1-2 for me, but St. Mary's is very, very close.
I also worry about Mahaney without like Johnson next to him. Like, Mahaney was kind of the cute, unassuming star that popped late, but then when you saw teams really gear in on him, like, he was rendered again. I think it was bad to look at VCU and UConn as like, those teams would shut down anybody. It's good, best player, right? Like,
he scored double digits once in the last 6 games, and he also had a donut in the last 6 games.
Yeah, he was terrible. He was objectively bad against VCU.
I'll hand up, Matt. I'm not like, I think Mahaney's good. I don't think he's like an All-American this year.
I love him as a guy, but I'm with you. I just don't think he is like Aiden Mahaney versus Stephen Ashworth.
He can't finish at the rim. Right. Like, I don't know.
Like, if I threw out Aiden Mahaney versus Stephen Ashworth to you, I'm taking Mahaney, but I think people would laugh at that proposal this year.
For this season, I think I'd take Ashworth. I know that.
Wow,
crazy,
I love that. Kai, do you agree?
Matt, we have Mahaney.
I know they're both white guys for making easy comparison here.
You rated Mahaney like top 15 players in our voting.
I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to be the cold water guy to Matt's like, I love Mahaney, and Matt's like, side with me. Don't do that. Push back.
All the great guards that Bennett's nurtured, like Jordan Ford is just like, I look at Jordan Ford and what he was and what he became, and then Tommy Kuhse, what he was and what he became. It's like Bennett just gets an extra 10% more than what you think out of these guys. So, and he's good. He's got pedigree. He's got like pretty solid.
I'm fine with the take on Mahaney being awesome. I'm cool with it.
Okay. All right.
When's the last St. Mary's All-American though?
Yeah, they don't play fast.
Dellavedova, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They just don't make that level.
I think Ford should have been one. Wasn't he like a fringe? Was he like honorable mention? He was pretty damn close.
The team didn't make the tournament though. I think that was their problem.
They just missed it. Yeah.
They just aren't top 3 seed. They're 5 seed. That's their ceiling every year, just because of the schedule they play in non-con and losing to Gonzaga. Right. They have a good schedule this year. So like,
it's been getting better.
Yeah, that'll help.
I think they're a bubble team this year. I think they're in the tournament, but they're closer to bubble than like 5 seed. I think it's like an 8 or a 9 or a 10 seed. Yeah.
They're top 20 for me overall. For sure.
Maybe I'm low in the WCC as I talk myself through these teams. All right, let's go to San Francisco, which houses 2 of the smartest basketball institutions in the country with that program in Santa Clara, which we'll get to in a second. But Chris Krylupson, one of the most bizarre years last year. Like, remember they lost to they beat Arizona State by 1 million and lost the very next night in a weird back-to-back scheduling spot to like UT Arlington. Krylupson's just like, we had these fun, small, dynamic guards that just were super erratic, and I think they're going to be more stable this year. And obviously with Mongolian Mike and what he brings forth, I just think it's a more complete team this year. It's a better defensive team, more consistent team. It's not a tournament team, but I think it's like your top 100-ish competitive. Maybe if they get a couple good wins, you could see them sneaking into the bubble conversation. Which again, just the fact that San Francisco is in this in that stratosphere of the grand landscape is pretty impressive. Kai, your thoughts on the Donnies? Sorry.
I was going to let Jim go. Sorry.
Oh, Kai's, yeah, I'll rescue. I'll jump in.
Hockey pass to Kai.
Matt, I'm a little pessimistic here. I don't know. I'm not huge on Mongolian Bike. I don't think he was a winning player last year. I'm not sure he's immediately going to be one out west. Marcus Williams has had the weird, like, chemistry clashes at a couple different stops. Like Texas A&M got better when he left. Wyoming didn't seem to miss him too much, despite he was freshman of the year there. I only have 2 top 100 teams in the league this year. I don't have anybody else in the WCC in the top 100. I got a couple fringe inside the 125 area, but I'm not seeing real upside for a third at-large team. So I'm not super sold on San Francisco, based a little bit on guard play. And I do like the kind of the plethora of 6-7 wings they have. So I think defensively they can be pretty switchy if they play Mongolian Mike as the point guard, but I don't know that the offense is really going to be there without the speed and shot making that Roberts and Shabazz brought them.
First of all, sorry, I put water down my throat the wrong way, wrong pipe. Matt, I actually like San Francisco a lot. I think they're top 100 as well. Mongolian Mike, I'm also very high on. There's some projection.
Yeah, there's projection there.
He's a 6'8" point guard, and he showed a lot of potential. And I like the combo with Marcus Williams, who I also think is going to be better this season. We saw him be so good with Wyoming. I just know he has it in him. And there's legit size in the backcourt. That's the kind of lacked last season a lot on defensively. I think Mogbo adds defense.
He's really so good defensively.
Really
I forgot to mention how much I love.
So good defensively. Yes.
Defensively. Yep.
So this could be a really good defensive team. And I think Golden had a good defensive squad in his last season there. I think that actually lifts them up quite a bit. And they're deep. I think they're really, really deep. So I agree with them being number 3. And I agree with the top 100 prognosis.
That's where Gerlofson really hammered. Depth was huge for us. I think they're bench 3 through bench 6. There's not a big drop off. They got a couple of guys that played big minutes, obviously lower conference, worse teams, but as your 5th guy off the bench, drop off will not be big. I think they're pretty immune to an injury decimation too. So they'll be competitive. That's kind of where I'm at with them. Number 4, LMU, the Lions. This team was prolific on offense last year, and I almost forgot to mention Cam Shelton in the preview. And Jim's like, man, you probably should mention Cam Shelton. He's a pretty good player.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I don't know. He wasn't really that good. And then he was dynamite, absolute dynamite. I thought he'd be one of the guys, 21 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, 4 assists a game, 2 steals a game. Just monster numbers. Yeah. And he is now gone. And they've kind of revamped the backcourt. So the front court's all the same, right? You have Kelly Lupepe, some of these kind of wings. They brought in some transfer bigs that were kind of imposing last year. Justice Hill from LSU and Dominic Harris from Gonzaga. Those are 2 of the widest possible outcomes you can find in a backcourt. Could be really talented. Mm-hmm. Could shoot you out of a game too. So I think LMU is a team, unlike the Dons, where you'll see more consistency. LMU will be like last year's Dons, where you'll see head-scratching wins, head-scratching losses.
Yeah, enticing. I'm in the Stan Johnson is solid camp now.
He's a good coach. I'm convinced.
2 out of 3 years, we've seen him perform really well. I think he had a weird season 2 years ago. The Hill and Harris backcourt is super talented. Yeah, we don't really know much from a proven production perspective, but I do think it's talented and good. And Lepepe, we know, is an all WCC guy. Lots of transfer depth too. So I am also fairly high on LMU. I would probably rank them 4th as well, Matt.
Yep, I have them 4th. It was kind of fun for me to go through ratings and be like, I like LMU. I'm so constantly looking to fade them coming into the year. And, there's the year that people were pumping them up as the 3rd best team and at large quality. And then they had that kind of disaster. I think it was interrupted this year. They don't have to play Lepepe at center all the time. That was kind of a weird idiosyncrasy they had last year, a little more shot blocking because when they had, or not last year, it was 2 years ago, they had to do that. And then, the guards are pretty solid. Dominic Harris is going to be a beast. I always thought he was good when he got on the floor for Gonzaga. So I like this roster quite a bit, Matt. I think it's really deep, like you said, playmaking, shooting, lineup versatility, big fan.
I meant to ask you, I was like, Dom Harris or Nolan Hickman? Jim likes one and doesn't like the other. I need to ask him because I feel like my rating will hinge closely to who is good for either team. So yeah, if he's good, helps a lot. In general, every team in this conference has been Gonzaga dragged in terms of they all are just trying to get big bodies up front. Every team's big. They've gotten bigger and bigger every year. LMU has done that, and I think that's really helped them. And as we move to number 5, which, full transparency, I ended up jumping to number 4 last second in my own personal ratings, and I may in here too just because Herb Sendek is just really good. Yeah, and the roster actually has some big upside to it. But everyone knows they've sent 2 lottery picks back-to-back years. Jalen Williams 2 years ago, last year, AirPods was the toast of the town. But man, they've just been so good at the rim, big, imposing. This year they bring in Francisco Cafaro from Virginia, like a 10, 15 minute a game guy. Had some pedigree. I think he makes an immediate impact. And they have Christoph Tilley, who's going to be a monster up front too, like the breakout player of the year per the Almanac. The guard play is the big question mark, Kai. Jalen Benjamin from Mount St. Mary's, who I like when healthy, but it's Mount St. Mary's. And then Adama Ball from Zona, who I love. I don't understand why he didn't get more minutes at Arizona. Maybe I missed something there. All in all, and you can mention your boy Johnny O'Neal. I know you like him. I kind of like this. I do
like Johnny O'Neal.
I ended up making a little adjustment to 4. And Herb Sendek can coach basketball. So
he can, but I want to remind people of 3 and 4 years ago when fading Santa Clara was fantastic in the 9.
It was good
because they were too overrated. They didn't have the talent. There is not a lottery pick on this team. Like getting Jalen Williams and AirPods back to back was such a crapshoot. I mean, there's not an NBA player on this roster, in my opinion.
You don't think Ball can be a potential?
I don't know,
second rounder.
It's possible, but we haven't. I guess we hadn't seen anything from AirPods before he got there too.
He didn't even mention the call. I called him first in early August last year. He didn't mention AirPods. Didn't even talk about it. Wasn't discussed.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll walk that back for Ball, I guess, because he had a pretty high pedigree. But I don't know. They're a fine team. I do like some pieces, but Jalen Benjamin. He's got to produce at a higher level. Johnny O'Neal, I do love, but he played for American. I mean, I don't think he's going to translate super well to WCC. I have him 5th as well, though.
Yeah, I think I remember people being high on Tongue coming in. So I think they're probably going to, my guess, Matt, would be Tongue and Tilley up front, and then Cafaro and O'Neal are your supplemental off the bench size shot swatting, like they had a little bit with Brown and Bediako in the past. Benjamin solid at the point, definitely not to the level of AirPods and Williams. So there's going to be an inherent step back here, and they're worse than last year. They just are. I still think there's definite number 3 upside in the league, though. Ball is the one that just had so much hype, and I saw him getting reps in after a UCLA Arizona game when he didn't play, staying out on the court. Like, he looks pretty smooth. So I think there's kind of a wider range of outcomes with this team.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually going to say, I think the ceiling might be as high as it's been, even more than the last 2 years. It's just far less likely they're as good as the last 2 years with the experience and guys that are coming back. But you could see a world where this team's just really good again. All the way at large-ish, maybe.
If Christoph Tilley really is what WCC coach was saying, then okay. Then I'll walk back what I said earlier.
Marshall was a full-time starter 2 years ago, and Tongue was a beast down the stretch. Yeah, I mean, again, I just looked at it again. It's there's a lot going right for this roster. I'm going to flip LMU and Santa Clara. Sorry, Stan Johnson.
Carlos Marshall is Mr. Never Healthy, though. 2 of the last 3 years.
Yeah, Sendek said he's fully healthy finally. I'm okay, sure, I believe you, but yeah, we'll see if that stays that way. Yeah. All right, we're continuing to the bottom half of the league. The Pilots did not quite take flight last year after a fun, exciting first year.
They're C pilots.
C pilots.
Oh, that's right. I hate this. God dang it.
It's very confusing.
Just go by the Mariners or something, something I can actually relate to in terms of a captain.
No, that's Seattle has Mariners kind of locked down. So I think Portland's got to go.
I mean, I love Liggins. I've been on the record. Everyone is probably sick of me waxing poetic about him, but it was a team last year that was still very good, but their record was nice. They lost a lot of close games. And one of the few teams in the conferences that just has kind of ignored the 5 position. They don't really have an enforcer, they haven't really had one, and that's been a big issue for them. And Liggins is we just trying to play our style. It's tough to find guys at that side that can go toe to toe with the Gonzagas and the St. Mary's up front, but still kind of enable what we do, which is very positionless type of free flowing read and react stuff. They lose a lot, but Robertson's really good. Apparently, Chris Austin's going to be healthy finally. The guys they brought in are actually a lot better, I think, than their pedigree. I'm super high on the Lamar transfer. Yamanuchi. And the Message kid from Maine's actually very good. So I'm probably way higher in this team than most people are, but they lost a lot, and they're young off the bench. Kai?
Yeah, it's kind of almost a San Jose State thing where Liggins lifts this team. If he wasn't the coach, I'd probably pick him near the bottom. They just lose too many key guys from last season. I do like Robertson. I don't ever believe Chris Dawson's healthy. Karoma is a guy I don't mind from Cal Poly, but again, it's Cal Poly, and we're not talking about Gonzaga level player. So I think the talent is still lacking overall. I'll probably be a little low on them this year, Jim.
Yeah, they don't have like the step up ability without the size. I know they're trying to get more of it, but their last 3 margins against Gonzaga are lost by 28, lost by 32, lost by 40, lost by 15. Like they just get destroyed by that team in the paint. And I know those have been really, really good Gonzaga teams, and Drew Timme is kind of a special case, but they don't have that upward mobility. I'm curious about Austin too, Matt. Did he say for sure that he's healthy? Because that broken leg was gruesome.
Let me check. Yeah, it was
at
gross.
the end of it was. I think it was in the WCC tournament. It was just like, oh God, like I'm not sure we're going to see him again on the court. So I hope he gets back there. But Robertson gives you a fairly high floor. He's such a tough matchup. The way they post him up and let him be like the primary playmaker. You got a decent amount of shooting around him, and a little more size makes them maybe higher competitive. I just worry about them losing the special sauce that made them fun and good, and trying to be too conventional. We'll see if that, Leggins can toe the line, but I'm worried it might venture too far.
They also, I think, snuck up on people. They play kind of an unorthodox style. And when you got into conference play last year, the teams who knew them knew how to scout them. We used to talk about this dynamic in the Ivy League. Portland was really competitive in the non-conference, right? Kai, weren't you at a couple of those games where they gave beat
at
PK almost beat UNC.
Yeah, PK 85. They were awesome.
They were kind of a darling, exactly. So
Moses Wood is really good.
And Moses Wood was really good. They lose him. They lose Applewhite. Yeah, they lose some pieces.
And
for
Meadows.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Meadows. They were fine without Meadows, but they lose some dudes.
For sure. Solan's gone.
Solan was good. Yeah, that was
kind of like Moses Wood 2.0 on the court out there.
All right, and now we're getting into the depths of despair here. God, Pepperdine. I know you're excited to talk about the Waves.
I'm so excited.
And every year we are, because if you want to talk players and pedigree and potential, you can kind of get hyped every season. Houston Millette's going to be awesome. Javon Porter is going to be awesome. Koulibaly is a good interior rim protector that can at least be a scarecrow at the rim when they inevitably get up, a turnstile of layups.
It's a good.
I don't love Ethan Anderson. Jim, Ethan Anderson's not been our favorite guy over the long haul. He's going to run the show at point guard. Romar kind of sold me on just the sheer fact that he is an adult, and they've had basically underclassmen running point guard since Colby Ross walked out the door. I kind of bought that, but then I also kind of didn't. Should be better defensively. I don't know. They've won 3 games the last 2 years total in the WCC. It's just like I can't get too excited.
I was excited to talk about this team because I just want to poop on them.
Okay, poop on him then.
Romar stinks.
Oh, come on. I like Romar.
He's super nice, but my God, shot selection with this team.
3 and 29 in the WCC the past 2 years. 3 and 29. Even his best teams were 7 and 6 and 8 and 8. I mean, yeesh. Everyone can agree they've had top 3 talent in this league, probably.
Max Lewis went like 34th in the draft.
Yeah. Mountain Porter, very good. I just think the rest of the roster is not much to write home about. The bench is really young. Like nobody has experience on the bench. Sell for Pepperdine.
I will say the Ajayi kid's supposed to be really good. I think one of the 2 of those kids will be really good. But again,
does it matter?
Good individual talent doesn't matter. No, probably not.
Will they post individual numbers? Sure. Matt, if Ethan Anderson's your adult in the room, then the inmates are running the asylum. That's what I'm going to say, because he's had a turnover rate like 22%, 26%, 24% his entire career. He takes awful shots. That is not somebody who I want to stick into a system that is sloppy and disciplineless. He is going to have way too much fun doing whatever he wants. He's not Colby Ross. The defense won't be great, and the offense will be inefficient because of the shots they take. Millette and Porter will be fun, but I don't like sticking Anderson at the head of that snake.
In hindsight, it makes total sense why Anderson landed here. Like you can see the recruiting pitch behind the scenes. Like, oh, I can do what I wanted to do at UC. Autonomy, fun.
Malibu. I'm in.
Malibu.
Wyoming needed player. I mean, I know he was kind of hurt, but like he was not effective for a team that needed something. Needed that adult in the room.
Yeah.
I can't blame Romar for kind of coasting. By the way, I mean, gosh, going Pepperdine, coach at Pepperdine.
He owns.
Oh man,
he owns like the giving his players boundless freedom. Like he really like takes pride in that. Which I kind of respect to a degree, honestly. I did.
There's always the fun dynamic on here. The guy that talks to that conference of coaches wants to
loves
be
him
nice
and defends him. Yes,
and
that's
like
me. for sure.
The other two are willing to be like, no, that guy's bad. You're like, oh, I don't want to say that. So unfortunately, that's the case.
Last year, they beat UC Irvine by 10, a good team, and they lost to UCLA by 50 the next day. It's like clearly just an undisciplined team with a shit ton of talent and just couldn't really get it done.
Where do we go? Oh yeah, Pacific. Leonard Perry. Okay. A disaster 2 years ago. Last year wasn't much better, but they had moments. They went 7-9 in the conference. It's a good conference. I mean, there's some imbalance schedule
for sure.
I think he did last year. Like, I think last year was more of like
Far
Damon
less
Stoudemire. Yes, like the rally around the, circle the wagons, next man up, depth, different hero every night. Like, it looked more like the fun Damon Stoudemire type teams that he was a right-hand man to before Stoudemire left for Celtics, and obviously he's down at Georgia Tech. I like the roster. They just lost like some monster pieces, like Keelan Boone and Jordan Ivy Curry just bailed them out on offense so many times from what I watched, and now they have to replace those guys. There's a lot coming back. It's a lot of quantity. And I know they've been built on quantity and depth, but I still think they've always had like one or two guys that can be a guy. I don't see it this year. So that's my concern. Jim?
Abdulovic literally shot 52% from three.
Oh yeah, he didn't miss threes. That's
all
right.
Competition. Like, having that is great. Keelan Boone ended up being an inside out threat that I don't think we really saw coming. Thought he was more of just kind of a paint bound type of beast. So, hey, enjoy that, UNLV. But yeah, I liked Mo Odom a little in the game I saw him. He's a big time passer, would have been top 3 in the country in assist rate if he had played more minutes, but he doesn't quite have the same degree of shooting to go to. And the thing that was different about them versus the Stoudemire teams is they weren't feisty defensively at all.
No.
Like, that was the Stoudemire teams were like such a pain to play against because you knew they were just going to fight you tooth and nail for every inch. And last year, 346 and 2-point percentage defense. There was not a lot happening inside, and relying on a guy who played 3 minutes a game at Boise isn't like, oh, we fixed this. Yeah, we've completely solved that issue. So I think the defense is still going to be too much of a problem, and the offense isn't as good.
I do wish Perry would follow Stoudemire's blueprint more closely. He even said like, oh yeah, like we're trying to play a little more open, free flowing modern, where Stoudemire is like lots of set plays and just dogged defense. It's just a little different identity with this group. And I don't think it works as well in this conference.
Yep, I agree. And you said quantity. Yeah, 7 guys back who played over 13 minutes per game. That's a lot of quantity, but you lost your top 3 scorers. And there were a lot of bailout plays last year. It's probably similar to last season in terms of performance. I might say maybe even a little down. But
yeah, I remember watching a game that I bet on Pacific that they covered, and I just felt like I had found money. It's like watching them. I don't know how they made the shots that they made. They were not good ones, but they went in. Hey,
Ivy Curry make crazy shots. Ivy Curry make crazy. Yeah. All right, we're going long here, and I don't mean people aren't excited to hear about Saint Diego, the Toreros. I mean, they weren't good last year. They were ravaged by injuries. So let's give our boy Steve some. We'll give him the asterisk there for sure. But they had some monster talented pieces, and they were terrible. I mean, god awful defensively, and they lost all those dudes. The best player coming back is Wayne McKinney, who probably a third of the people listening to this podcast know who he is. And they brought in a ton of freshmen. Steve is all about doing it the long haul from the ground up, build freshmen, get them to stay, groom them, yada, yada, yada. I guess that's cool if you're Kentucky, you can get 4 and 5 stars, but like the top end freshmen on this roster, like fringe 3, barely 4. I don't know who they're defending. And I don't know how they're scoring without, like they had some like fun offensive players last year, like guys who could actually like make stuff happen. They played 5 out. Lavin gave a middle finger to playing a true 5. I think this year he's like, okay, I probably should go ahead and play a true 5. It's just going to be a bad year. It's going to be a tough year for sure.
Can you tell us what a character Lavin is? The texts between you two are so funny. I just love it. He sent you like a construction video of the new stadium being built.
Yeah. Matt asked for an action shot for the San Diego team page, like action shot, thinking a guy playing basketball, and it was a picture of them constructing a new stadium.
I love
which
it.
By the way,
videos of the new practice facilities, which look very nice, by the way. So again, he continues to underscore the we're building here. He calls it the climb.
I'm
it's
very
a long
glad
climb.
that it's only a practice facility, because I do not want to see the Slim Jim gone anywhere. Jenny Craig Pavilion,
Jenny Craig
San Diego.
Never change.
Yeah, Matt, this team is so ridiculously young, and they're coming off a year where they couldn't guard a shadow. I don't know how they suddenly play any defense, and a lot of the offensive shot making and creation is gone. It's like emphatic 9th the climb is going to start from a very, very low point.
I'll agree with Pat in the chat. Lavin just wants to live in San Diego. And again, who can blame him?
Who doesn't? I agree. I'm
gonna like coaching grades like a year ago. I think I gave them like a D-, and you guys were like, "What? Come on."
Yeah, true.
The problem is that I thought he would get he'd be like a portal talent magnet guy.
He did
what he was when he took over, and then that didn't work. I thought at least when he'd do it again this year and like try again and see if that could go anywhere. But he's like, screw this. I hope I'm here for 5 years and I'll accrue my freshman. Maybe in 3 years we'll be okay.
To your point, they used 18 starting lineups, so there was some injury issues, but
walk-ons at some point. Yeah,
had so much talent though. Still, 4-12 in the WCC with that talent. They have no prayer this season. I think they bottom out. I think it's gonna be the worst year. And
I know. I was trying to think how bad will it be this year?
What's the lowest in KenPom they've ever been? Lamont Smith 269. No, Bill Greer 294.
Yeah,
all right.
They might get that 3.
On, Steve.
Might get that 3 in front of their name this time. We'll see.
I don't think they win more than 2 games. Maybe 3
in the WCC.
More 2
in league play. You mean
in league play? Yeah, in league play.
So a Pepperdine.
Pepperdine's better. We agree with that, though, Kai. Right? Pepperdine's better team, right?
Yeah, it should be. They were last year too.
What happens if Pepperdine and San Diego trade coaches?
Nothing.
Oh, that's fun.
Where I'm at,
they're the same.
yeah. Spider-Man meme between them.
They should try just for a little yearly experiment to see what happens. That concludes our WCC preview. Before we officially sign off, let's give our tournament projections. How many teams? I think it's a clear cut 2.
Just two.
Yep, 2, and I don't even think there's upside for 3 personally.
I think there is. I think I'm a little higher on the upside here than the Mountain West. San Francisco, LMU, Santa Clara, one of those 3 I think could crack it, but it's just foolish to make that prediction. So I won't. 2 teams, and I'm going to go change Graham Ike as an all-conference player. I'm sorry, Gonzaga fans, for offending you with that omission in my final draft.
Santa Clara couldn't crack it the last 2 years. This roster's not better.
That's true.
It happened in 22. It would have happened in 20. It would have happened. It did happen in 2012, and that's it for the 3-team bids in 2008. So I mean, it's 2-team league, like for the most part.
Yeah, and those 3, the BYU was around when those 3
right, and BYU is now gone.
Bids, so yes, exactly. BYU, yes, correct.
That's all we have for today's content. We will be back next week, I think, at a regularly scheduled cadence on Wednesday. That'll be a mid-major discussion? ?
Nope, we're moving on to the Pac-12 or the ACC, one of the 2.
Yeah, we haven't yet decided. That'll be TBD. Yep.
Well, hopefully those conferences still exist by the time we talk next, but we hope to see you next week, regardless of their existence. Thank you for stopping by this week. That's all we got. Cheerio.
Cheerio.